What's up, y'all? My name is Enoch. I'm here to inspire, motivate, and encourage you to be the best version of you that you could possibly be. I know that ain't an easy task, but let's go. Welcome back to Divine Motivation Podcast. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow the Instagram, Divine Motivation _. Now let's get into it. So, remember we talked about decision making. I wonder if you guys really took that homework where I said, really be conscious of the decisions you make this week. Okay, now, today I want to talk about something similar, but I want you to ask yourself this. Who or what controls you? You're probably like, I control myself. I do what I'm supposed to do. Nobody controls me. Okay. Now, I'll put you in a scenario. I'm going to tell you how do you normally react. When someone does something that ticks you off, or you're driving and someone cuts you off and you get tight, or you lash out at somebody and you say, yo, they got me tight. So, that's why I did that. Really think about what you said. They got me this way, so that's why I reacted like the way I acted. Do you have control then? Because ultimately what you're saying is they did something and I gave them control and I reacted the way I did. We don't think about it like that. We just think about it like, yo, they did something, so I just reacted, instead of really taking time to assess the situation and respond accordingly. We often just jump the gun and like, yo, they did this, so I had to do this. Not realizing like you gave them control. Like I had to work on that. I remember about maybe five years ago. I had to be about 5 years ago because my wife was still pregnant. So we were driving in New York and I thought I had control until this situation happened. So I was driving and a car almost ran a stop sign. And I parked the car and I'm spazzing. I'm like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. My wife was like, yo, chill. So I'm like, nah, he bugging, you pregnant. And she's like, I never seen you act like that. And I'm like, nah, man, he got me out of character. And then I started to think to myself, and I was like, yo, I don't normally lose control like that. And what was it was, I was used to being self-controlled when things that had to do with me. But I realized, oh, when it comes to my family, I haven't really touched that area yet. I'm not really under control when it comes to my wife and my kids, because that's ultimately why I was spazzing. Then I realized, like, okay, that's something I need to work on. I'm not really under control when it comes to the situations when it comes to other people close to me. And that's something I had to be conscious of, because I could easily get myself into trouble when I could easily de-escalate it and just be like, you know what? All right, cool, whatever. Because that situation could have got worse. Could have got out the car. You never know what could have happened. And that's why it's important that you're under control, that you don't let other things dictate how you act. Like my cousin was telling me not too long ago that he's in college, and you know how stressful college is. And he says, like, yeah, I've been going through a lot, I've been depressed, I've been stressed a lot. So I asked him, what do you listen to? I'm like, he like, what do you mean? I'm like, what type of stuff do you listen to? Like, do you listen to motivational stuff? He's like, no. I was like, do you listen to, like stuff with substance? He's like, no. And I already know what he listens to. So I'm asking him, like, you know that artist you listen to, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, most of their music is very depressing, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, so do you think that's gonna help you get control of the way you feeling? And then I could tell he never really thought about it or looked at it like that. I'm like, You listening to that, it's only helping the situation become worse. All you're doing is feeding into that negative depression. And he's like, yeah, but it ain't. I'm like, see, you're so stuck on it that you don't even realize it. So I told him, like, you need to start feeding yourself some things with some substance, some things that's going to help you get control back, because ultimately you're letting that music control you. It's feeding all the things that's going on around you that's not helping you. So ultimately, it's like, I have to be conscious of what I'm feeding myself. And I'm going to do an episode on that, on what is your intake, because what you take in is what you put out. So when it's like, do I have control? Am I giving my control away to people? Am I letting people get me upset? You got to understand something. You have the power to decide if you're going to be upset or not. If you're going to let somebody take control or get you out of character. I remember my boy, he was telling me, he was like, yo, man, I had to spaz out on family real quick because, I mean, I had to let them know, like, I don't play that. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, yo, I'm a man. Like, you can't really talk to me like that. So I'm like, so you call yourself a man because you put them in their place and yelling and doing all this wild stuff? Like, yeah, I'm like, that sounds like a little boy to me. And he was like, what you mean? I'm like, do you act like that on the regular? He said, no. I'm like, so you doing that is what? Lashing out. What is that? He was like, yo, sometimes you just gotta, and I get it. I get it. Sometimes our emotions get the best of us. But that is the point here. You got to learn how to get control of your emotions, because it's just emotions. You can't let that dictate how you react to things. You have to get control of those things. You have to decide, you know what? Even though they did this, I know how to control myself. I'm going to conduct myself in a way that's mature, and I'm going to handle the situation the way it should be handled, without lashing out, without getting tight, going like, oh yeah, they made me do this. No, you gave them power. Now, I guarantee you think about it every time when somebody gets you tight, and you have to say to yourself, yeah, I got mad. I let them get control of me. So that's why I acted like that. How does that sound? You gave them power over you. That's ultimately what you're doing. So you need to find a way to really understand, like, yo, I don't have to be upset. I don't have to lash out. I can take control of myself. Having self-control, being able to say, you know what? Going back to the decision making. When you don't have control, your decisions are terrible. When you lose control, your decisions are poor because you're not in the right mind frame. And what I realize keeps me on track and being in control is going back to purpose driven. Because I'm purpose driven, I'm always in control of my surroundings. I'm always in control of how I feel. I'm always in control of what I take in, what I'm listening to. You have to take control back. You have to take control of your life. Stop letting everything around you dictate how you're supposed to be. You don't have to look at this and look at that and say, nah, man, I need to do this. Why do you need to do that? Does your decisions line up with that? Does your purpose line up with that? So stop just reacting to everything that happens around you. Get control. Have self-control. Be an adult at the end of the day. Stop getting so mad at everybody. Yo, they got me tight. Stop giving them control. Take control back. Really understand who you are. Stop using the excuse that they got me tight. You allowed them to get you tight. Figure out a way to control that. And I know it's not easy. It takes steps. So little by little, start working on that. Be conscious. Everything I'm trying to tell you is be conscious of everything that you're doing. Tell you be conscious of the decisions you're making. Be conscious of the things that does not lead to your purpose. Be conscious of the things that's controlling you. If the music you listen to controls you to the way where when you hear it, you get angry and you want to just be depressed, or you want to just fight and argue with people, maybe you shouldn't be listening to that music. Decision making. Maybe you should decide, you know what? That's not the type of music I should be listening to. maybe I should be listening to more positive things because for some reason for me, when I listen to that, it makes me feel this way. Take control of your life, little things around you, and then you start to realize like, oh, I do have control. And then you start to realize the things that did control you, like, oh, that did control me. Those people did control you. I gave them power. And once you realize that, your decisions will start to be better. You're starting to handle conflict situations better because now you're like, oh, I'm in control of the way I react to things. I don't have to be this way. The whole goal here is to be the best version of you that you could possibly be. So every single day, you're trying to get better. And that is the goal. So every day, every time you have a situation, you have to look at it and really be rational and say, like, okay, there's an opportunity for me to get better. Let me take control of my life. Let me take control of my decisions. And that's how you begin to grow. And that's all you need to do. So this week, take control. Don't give nobody power. And if you do, let somebody get you tight. Sit to yourself and say like, yo, dang, I gave them power. So now you're more conscious of it. Now you're going to be like, okay, I'm not going to let people get that power. So just work on that. Be conscious of it. When something happens, understand if you had control or you lost control, and realize what was it that you lost? What did you give up? And that's when you'll see the growth. Right? That's today's episode. I appreciate you tuning in. Once again, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow the Instagram, Divine Motivation _. And hopefully I'm trying to listen. I'm just trying to make this podcast visually better. Like, I don't got all the stuff yet. I'm working on that. It's in the future, but sometimes you got to just go for it. Sometimes you got to just do it anyway. All you have is all you need. It ain't going to be the best, but we're going to work there. We're going to get there one day. But I appreciate you. Keep tuning in. We're going to do this again next week. I'll see you.